The newest domino to fall in the Aaron Rodgers saga has now hit the table because we're checking in on Minnesota, where the Vikings are out on Aaron Rodgers. Word coming in from our lead NFL insider that the team is not pursuing A-Rod anymore. The Vikings also reportedly have turned away any trade talk involving J.J. McCarthy. So where does that leave us with all things regarding QBs in Minnesota and Aaron Rodgers? Of course, to get the skinny on that, we bring in the man whose report we just mentioned, Jonathan Jones. And J.J., you see this whole situation. Why and how do the Vikings come to this conclusion of, hey, no, Aaron Rodgers, we don't want you?
Yeah, so last week we reported that if the Vikings wanted Aaron Rodgers, then Aaron Rodgers would be a Minnesota Viking. He's not a Minnesota Viking. Look, here's the fact of the matter, is that head coach Kevin O'Connell has known Aaron Rodgers for the better part of 2 decades. Aaron Rodgers is a 4-time NFL MVP. He is, more than a year removed from Achilles surgery. He did look better the longer the season went. And so if you look at the trajectory, if you extrapolate for the 41-year-old quarterback, you may believe that he could continue that trajectory into the 2025 season. And so the Minnesota Vikings, with someone who's essentially a redshirt freshman in J.J. McCarthy, they had to at least hear Aaron Rodgers out, right? 1, out of respect for Aaron Rodgers. 2, out of just regular team building. Hey, this 4-time NFL MVP wants to talk to us, may want to come join us. We have a stacked roster. We need somebody who can throw the football. Let's chat with him. But ultimately, and we never really said that the Vikings were a true option for Rodgers. Rodgers wanted them to be an option, but they were not a true option. And so at some point over the past couple days, it became clear to Aaron Rodgers that the Minnesota Vikings were not going to engage in any sort of contract with him, that they were not going to bring him aboard. Could that change in the future? If something under the sun happens, sure. But for right now, he is not going to be an option. The Minnesota Vikings are moving forward with J.J. McCarthy, and now Aaron Rodgers has to consider what his real and legitimate options are outside of the Vikings, which truly have been the same exact options as have been for the past probably 2 weeks.
So we'll get back to Aaron Rodgers in a second, because I want to stick with Minnesota here. And if you're looking at, okay, we're pinning J.J. McCarthy as QB1, what's that room going to look like? Because who's the backup? You have no Sam Darnold anymore. Who do they feel comfortable with giving the keys to, given the fact that, as you mentioned, J.J. McCarthy is like a redshirt freshman?
Yeah, absolutely. So they were interested in retaining Sam Darnold, but they were hung up on any sort of contract guarantees beyond 2025. Ditto Daniel Jones, who wanted an opportunity to start this upcoming season. I think he looked at the health of J.J. McCarthy, the love and appreciation that the franchise has for McCarthy, and said, all right, I may not have the best chance and opportunity to win QB1 in training camp against him. Let me go to Indianapolis. I guess another former first-round pick in Anthony Richardson. You see right here the list of free agent quarterbacks who are currently available. Could the Vikings choose from any one of these guys? Absolutely. And they very well may. There's no rush for them to do it. These guys have not signed anywhere yet. I don't know when they are going to sign. They don't know when they're going to sign. And so there's time still for the Minnesota Vikings to pick up a veteran free agent quarterback. Also, they could trade for a veteran quarterback. I'm not saying an actual starter, but look at what the Cleveland Browns just did a little more than a week ago, trading for Kenny Pickett. There's a Kenny Pickett-like player who is out there. They traded for Nick Mullins, I think, a year or 2 ago. There's going to be guys who are QB2, QB3 on a current team's roster. That team may feel pretty good about the young guy that maybe they draft, right? Maybe they get him into rookie minicamp and OTAs, and the Vikings ultimately make a move to trade for one of those guys. That could be in June. That could be in July or August. And so the Vikings are not pressed right now to go out and find one of those guys, because look at the market, look at the landscape. These guys are not flying off the shelves. That tune can change if these guys start signing elsewhere. Once you see 1, 2, 3, 4 go, maybe the Vikings get involved at that point. But for right now, they don't have to do anything because no one around the league's doing anything.
Yeah, so kind of sit back and wait a little bit, let time pass, and figure out where all the other chips might fall. So we talk about time, then I want to bring it back to Aaron Rodgers here. What is the timeline for him to make a decision if it is still just those few teams that we've been monitoring the whole entire time?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his timeline is. And look, I went out, I did my own research on Aaron Rodgers, and he likes to go about things in his own way, right? If you recall several years ago, when he was at the Kentucky Derby and tried to kind of take the spotlight away to say what he had to say there. Remember, of course, at the NFL draft a couple of years ago where he wanted the spotlight back on him. You know, NCAA tournament's going on right now, so you could argue that at any point between Thursday and Sunday of this week and potentially next week, maybe he drops the bombshell to bring the focus and attention back to himself. I reported earlier today that Minnesota's decision does not impact Aaron Rodgers' decision-making. It does not hasten him. You know, again, the Giants, the Steelers, are moving along, hoping that Aaron Rodgers chooses them. But we have seen that the Steelers go out and get Mason Rudolph. We've seen the Giants bring in Russell Wilson for a visit, and then Jameis Winston. So these teams are still going about their business, hoping that Aaron Rodgers ultimately chooses them. I can tell you, folks around the league believe that if Aaron Rodgers chooses to continue playing, that he would choose the Pittsburgh Steelers over the New York Giants. That's from looking at how the team is constructed and built, the path to the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. That is not coming from Aaron Rodgers' camp whatsoever. And then again, I sort of noted a retirement option that's been floated out there. You have to consider that, though folks, again, that I speak with observing Rodgers don't believe that he's going to go out on the note that he did with the New York Jets over these past 2 seasons. And so if you think he's going to land somewhere, a lot of folks believe that it would be the Steelers over the Giants. Both of these teams continuing to go about their business, not necessarily waiting with bated breath for Aaron Rodgers, but hoping that he would choose them. We'll see what winds up happening. But again, look, sometimes you wait on folks, and sometimes it works out, right? I mean, Forrest waited on Jenny. Camilla waited on Charles to some degree or another. Look, it works sometimes. It doesn't work other times. We'll see if it winds up working for one of these teams over the coming days, weeks, months. We'll see.
Yeah, Tim's said that she would wait for you as well, if you want to take it that way, and give us some music for the waiting as well. Someone that might be tired of waiting, though, is Cam Hayward over with the Steelers, because he's talking on the podcast. He seems fed up. He doesn't want to wait anymore. Let's take a listen.
I ain't doing that or darkness retreat. I don't need any of that crap. Like, either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't. That's simple. That's the pitch. Like, if you want me to recruit, that's the recruiting pitch. You know, Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to be part of it, so be it. If you don't, no skin on my back.
You hear that, JJ? What do you make of that? Is that just a guy on the pod opening up, making something, or is this a leader on a team that could be really given a shot?
Look, I think that is a veteran Pittsburgh Steeler, tried and true, who is saying, here's the pitch. We got a squad. I know you like Mike Tomlin. I know you can still spin it. You want to come here or not? Like, I'm not doing this whole dance. And it sounds like someone who maybe doesn't want Aaron to hurry up and make a decision, but is a little fatigued over the whole Aaron Rodgers everything that we have been dealing with for the better part of 4 years, going on 5 now. Like, if you want to come play here, then come here, let's play some ball, and let's be about football. And if you don't, then you don't. And that's really it, and it can be that simple. But over the last couple of years, it has turned into so much more for reasons that escape me. I don't truly understand why all the extras sort of go on. And then, of course, you hear how you have to eliminate distractions. And then look at, of course, the success of Aaron Rodgers-led teams over these past couple of years in December and January. And so maybe those two things are related, maybe not. But I understand what Cam Hayward is saying. It sounds a little more fatigue than anything. It sounds a lot of veteran leadership saying, come here or don't. But I'm not going to involve myself in whatever else you have going on. There's no drama in this life. So, again, a lot of folks around the league believe that if Aaron Rodgers continues to play and lands on an NFL team, that it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see.
Yeah, if it's not a catchy tune, sometimes that song and dance can get a little bit old if you don't spice up that 1-2 step everywhere you go with it. 1-2 step, Sierra, Russell Wilson. You see what I did there, JJ? You a fan of that one?
Man, that's good. That's good.
He's Jonathan Jones. He's our lead NFL insider. He might not really like it, but I'm saying I like it a lot. And you'll like With the First Pick as well. Tap into the podcast because remember, the NFL draft is coming up next month. The crew will get you ready for everything that will come and will follow if you tap in.